Okay, guys, welcome everyone to this panel. I think we're going to get going now. I think we've given enough time for everyone to arrive and for the audience to join in, and for all of our wonderful guest speakers to be here and to be ready to speak. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get going. I'd like to introduce myself first. I'm Bryan Benson. I head up strategy and partnerships and business development over at Kima. So it's really exciting for me to be here today with you guys and to introduce a couple of really cool projects that we've worked with and that have some pretty amazing things that they're doing in the market. So Kima is an interoperability protocol. We focus on connecting disparate systems, financial systems that don't talk to each other basically now. So we're not a bridge. We don't use smart contracts. We don't have oracles. So we really have looked at interoperability from a security standpoint, from a best practices standpoint, to be able to bring this type of technology to financial institutions and enterprises and everyone else out there. So thank you everyone for being here today. I'd like to introduce our first guest is Tim from Redbelly. Redbelly is an RWA layer 1 network that is focused on compliant asset tokenization and structured on-chain products. So I'd like to turn the mic over to Tim to give his quick introduction and get this thing going.
Awesome. Good to be here, guys, and thanks for the introduction, Bryan. Like you said, yes, we're very RWA focused. We're a layer 1 blockchain that was invented in the University of Sydney in the CSIRO in Australia. And we're currently 2 months into our testnet, and we're focused on tokenizing a lot of underserved compliant assets. At this stage, we have 83,000 KYC users on our testnet and growing, and we've signed $73.8 billion of tokenized assets. So good to be here, and over to you, Bryan.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And then I'd like to introduce also Chris Park from Definity. Definity Markets is an institutional digital asset ECN that addresses governance and regulatory issues in digital asset trading. It provides liquidity across major digital assets and traditional fiat currencies, and is supported by an integrated fiat on and off ramp gateway. So please go ahead, Chris. Looks like we have him as a listener at this point. So we'll shift over to Trikon. Trikon is a pioneering infrastructure within the gaming sector, blending Web3 accessibility with innovative solutions to create a unique crypto gaming ecosystem. It offers a range of products, including Gamer ID, Web3 chat, NFT marketplace, and a dedicated Trikon chain. So please welcome Trikon and give your introduction.
Thanks, Bryan. So myself, Rohit, I'm a Chief Product Officer with Trikon, and coming here to make you understand more about Trikon. So just to give you a little idea upon what Bryan has just mentioned, we are building a team of Web3. So we are giving the real power to the gamers by bridging the gap between the game developers and the gamers. And right now we are not focusing upon the user experience, instead more focusing upon the gaming experience, which is currently missing out in the Web3. And that is the biggest reason why we do not have much of an adoptability. At the same time, the gaming sector in Web3 is much fragmented. So coming with the different solutions like customizable Paymaster, ERC4337 Vault, NFT and a Web3 chat functionalities, and clubbing all of this into the gaming development kit is something that we are bringing onto the table, which, like I mentioned, bridges the gap between this. So we allow the game developer to focus upon the development component and not to the blockchain component. That's something that we will take care. And at the same time, we'll let gamer focus upon the gaming experience and not that what is the technology that they're working in. Is it Web3, Web2, or what kind of technology? It's just the gaming that they should be focusing upon. And that's what Trikon is bringing on the table.
Really cool. Thanks for that, Rohit. And last but not least, we'd like to introduce KookaburraY from Glyph Exchange. Glyph is a decentralized exchange built on the core DAO platform, featuring advanced liquidity and farming mechanisms, and it is designed to revolutionize the DeFi space by aligning with Bitcoin, promoting a real yield engine for the BTC-Fi revolution. So KookaburraY, please go ahead.
Thank you, Brian. It's lovely to speak with you gentlemen today here. And I go with my pseudonym KookaburraY, so I'm the co-founder of Glyph Exchange. Nice to meet you and nice to be here today with everyone. So what we do at Glyph, we are building a DEX. So right now we are the number one DEX on the most Bitcoin aligned layer one chain core. So we are leading in our over 160 million ecosystem, and we are the biggest DEX. And so we support ecosystem projects to create their liquidity, and we also work with multiple ecosystem partners and cross ecosystem partners to bring over innovations and also interesting DeFi products. And most of all, we introduce our users to engage with DeFi. So one thing very interesting at Core and also at Glyph, what we are doing is that we are dealing with a new demography featuring a lot of first-time crypto users. So we have the only Bitcoin-powered mobile version of our DEX, and also we are the only marketplace for different synthetic bitcoins right now in the market. So if you are if you are following the Bitcoin DeFi narrative and also anything Bitcoin related, BRC20 inscription, follow us, and then you will find out a lot of interesting asset issuing mechanism happening. So we built an in-house technical standard to support pump.fun style game on our platform, and it's gonna go mainnet pretty soon. So there's a lot to say about Glyph, but I'll leave you gentlemen to follow our socials to find out more. And also I will enjoy our conversation today here with other gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, KookaburraY. It's great to hear your voice again, and excited to ask you a couple questions and dive into where Glyph's at. So let's swing it back to Chris over at Definity. I think we have the tech sorted out here. So Definity, like I said, is an institutional digital asset ECN that addresses governance and regulatory issues in the digital asset trading space. It provides liquidity across major digital assets and traditional fiat currencies, supported by integrated fiat on and off ramps. So Chris, please go ahead and introduce yourself and your project. Looking forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, listen, thanks very much for the warm introduction. Sorry I was slightly late, having a little bit of fun in X, but great to be here. Really looking forward to having the chat. I am a co-founder of Definity Markets. We're part of the DMA group, and basically we are looking to provide the infrastructure and backbone for financial institutions and asset managers, etc., banks, to roll out and grow the crypto environment to, as you say, the next billion users. So our proof of concept business is up and running live. We are trading strongly under our current VASP license, and we are just waiting final approval, hopefully soonest, by the Jersey regulator for our second regulatory license. And really the ethos was, having come from a long background of TradFi and markets, working for a number of investment banks, to try and provide the ecosystem and venue for financial institutions to be able to trade the way they do with traditional assets, but recognizing the differences. So we are a venue, we're not an exchange, and we have a partnership that, once the regulation is live, we'll be able to announce with a European investment bank that will actually be providing the credit intermediation for participants. We work with a number of very interesting and exciting projects all around the crypto space, and have been in the crypto space for a number of years. And the reason is we also strongly believe in creating the ecosystem with partners that enables the growth and the adoption by a greater number of participants. So really looking forward to our chat today, and thanks very much for having me on.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Thanks for that intro. So yeah, let's dive into a couple questions. We're talking about 1 billion users here, and this is something that I personally have been, I had it on my LinkedIn 3 years ago, and it's just something that I've always sort of used as a moniker. I think it's a cool number. And I think we're getting closer and closer, to that, that first billion. So with that in mind, Tim, if you don't mind, I'd like to discuss a little bit more about what Redbelly is doing in this space. And, one of the things that I'm noticing here is that each of the projects that we have on today come from very diverse areas of the blockchain space. So we have, finance to gaming to DEXs, and just curious, Tim, if you could dive into how Redbelly is addressing interoperability challenges among these different among the different real world assets in your case that you guys are going to have on your platform.
Yeah, totally. Look, we've taken quite a different approach to most projects. Our go-to-market is very much targeting the single source of truth for a particular asset class. So what we've seen a lot in crypto is, people are tokenizing the end product and they're trying to represent that asset on chain. And the problem with that is you're simply duplicating cost and you're not actually removing any intermediaries and you're not lowering the cost to serve of this asset. An example of this is taking a treasury bill and putting that on chain. Yes, it is convenient for people who want access to that asset, but it's actually got an inferior yield, and it's no sort of it's not the 10 times better it needs to be in order to attract those billion users, like we said. So what we're doing is we're actually going for the actual registries for particular asset classes. So instead of having the single source of truth sitting in a database or a spreadsheet or a filing cabinet, we're originating the assets from the inception on chain. So we've had significant traction, hence the amount of TVL we've signed to bring asset classes in private equities, in carbon, in rent rolls, and these sort of high value asset classes that are fragmented and have poor price discovery, and issuing them from scratch on chain. And so once you have the single source of truth, those assets on chain are significantly more liquid, and in many cases far cheaper, or at least have higher margins than the assets that exist off chain. And really where we see it heading is once the assets are on chain, then you open yourself up to true composability. And so this is where the structured product sort of strategy sort of comes to life. Structured products have existed for a long time in spreadsheets and traditional finance, but when you use tokenization in the right way, you can start to build these products with tokenized assets that have direct line of sight to this single source of truth, i.e. the registry. So this is where you're going to see Redbelly really take a massive lead over pretty much everybody else in the industry in real world assets. And so once those assets are composable and everyone can access them, then we're going to see some real innovations. So, examples are, the carbon market is trillions and trillions of dollars, and there's no uniform spot price, and it's fragmented in every jurisdiction. So bringing that to bear on a network like Redbelly will obviously make a pretty big impact to how that market is traded. I think that's the key go-to-market difference for Redbelly. I mean, other than that, we have a formally verified consensus. It's one of the fastest blockchains in the world. And we have 100% deterministic characteristics. So transactions on our network are guaranteed to be committed. And obviously you need that for real world assets. So yeah, I would say those are some of the key things that set us apart. But keen to hear from the rest of the panel.
Yeah, really cool, really cool. I'll dive into that a little deeper. And, I've been working with you for some time, so I'd like to learn more, let the audience learn more about where you guys are at and in the project. But let's shift over to Rohit, the steam of Web3. I really like that. Tell us a little bit more about interoperability challenges and what you're building.
Yep. So, talking about, I would start with a very small example. So, whenever we used to play a game during our childhood, despite being if that was a Mario game or Subway Surfer, Temple Run, whichever game that we had played, we always have thought of one thing, that whatever coins that we are collecting, why we are not able to have a real value out of it, because there used to be like tons of coins that we used to collect. And despite being we were not able to generate a real value out of it, still there were chances that was one of the things that used to make us compete among our friends. And we always have felt proud that we have these many coins with us. How many coins do you have? So that's one of the competitive thing that we have. So with Web3, this is something that we are getting something enabled, where you can actually have the real value of the tokens that you're collecting. The assets would have a real meaning whenever you are playing a game. However, I see that, and even when we introduced Trikon, we actually had noticed that the technology is something which is ready to support this initiative or the dream that we always have had. However, people here, first of all, the gamers are not focusing upon the gameplay. Instead, they are more focusing upon the rewards, which is why the sustainability is not there in the culture. And at the same time, just because there is no sustainability or loyalty towards a certain game, that is why even the game developers are not much convinced on getting into this certain ecosystem. So that is where the idea for Trikon came in, where we started with, first of all, the target was to understand the gamer psychology. And the gamer psychology had clearly stated where they are only looking forward to play the games. They are not, and reward is just like a cherry on cake for them. And this is especially for the Web 2 gamers. And the gamers that we had seen in Web 3, the chunk of percentage of the community was there who were actually a gamer and then transitioned into Web 3. Instead, when we talk about Axie Infinity or any of those similar games, most of the community that came in was a newbie who directly either jumped into Web3 or was not a hardcore gamer. But when we talk to the hardcore gamer, we understand that in order to get into Web3, they are not focused upon the technology. First thing, they wanted everything to be eliminated, like multiple the signs, signatures that are coming in, and all of those things that are happening. And also, if we want to get into this certain technology, we should have a quality games. That is where Trikon came in. So the first focus that we kept was to create ERC 4337 Vault, which is like the target was to have a person signed in into the gaming ecosystem in less than 90 seconds. And that's something that we are able to achieve very successfully and even integrated into 3 games already, where the person is able to get inside the game just with the username and password, and even they can choose the option of social logins where everything is decentralized and we are not collecting any data. And with that, they do not have to take care of their public keys, private keys, or even seed phrases. They are inside the ecosystem. Now, on the gamer side, we also have built like Web3 chat. We also have built the features like providing them a seamless experience inside the gaming, and without leaving the game, they can have that certain experience inside the game, creating out different pools inside. And in order to solve out the interoperability option, we always have thought of interoperability option as transfer of assets. But with assets, we always have thought of an NFT collectibles like the skins that we are collecting or the characters that we are collecting. However, if you look at the gaming ecosystem, it is not easy to keep it interoperable like a character or a skin. But what is easy to interoperable, especially even in Web3, just like the financing, is the tokens. So we have built the token mechanism where any game tokens can be traded with another game tokens, and you will be able to also discuss it among your friends, create the competition, and also have a leadership dashboard. So like why we call it a Steam of Web3 is just like Steam helps a user to have a gaming discovery page, at the same time have the leadership dashboard capabilities, compete among people, and all of those things. That's something that we have curated at one place where multiple games will be listed. You will be able to trade and interoperable your assets. You will be able to manage all different capabilities of the game, review your progress, and at the same time have the leadership capabilities. But this was not enough. We always had always a rollback from the game developers that what we can serve to them is where we have decided on creating out a bridge, because game developer has to put in a lot of mind and money in order to create any game. But then also bringing blockchain component on top of it brings on a lot of money constraint for them. So that is where we work along with them, create the blockchain components, and ask them to focus upon the gaming components. And that is where we are able to achieve and come to a point where we have created a gaming development kit where with just integrating that game and connecting the simple APIs, you will be able to bring all of your assets on chain, and that we will take care of all different infrastructure. And at the same time, you will have to focus upon the gameplay components. And bringing to the last point, how we are different for the game developers is we have created the customizable paymasters. So right now, the paymasters that we have out there in the market, they are not customizable, they are static. However, with our paymaster, that is just like a simple UI where you just have to put in some entries, that how you want to have the rewarding functionality, the subscription functionalities for the game, the token distribution you want to define, what kind of token, what kind of assets you want to define. And once that is done, you just click on submit, and automatically the smart contract is created and submitted through the like on chain, and at the same time that is also configured through the gaming development kit inside your gaming mechanics. So that's how your game becomes on chain completely with just simple UI, and at the same time for the gamers you are able to bring out the real value. So in nutshell, we are bridging the gap between the gamers and game developers onto the Web3 ecosystem, where we are bringing out the concrete infrastructure where we know that both the poles are connecting despite being taking care of the technology, despite being bothered about that what is happening in the background, and we are bridging that gap, bringing the solutions very seamless and gamer friendly.
Very cool, Rovit. Very cool. I started with Atari and Pac-Man, so I think I'm a little bit dated there, but it's really cool what's happening in this space. And I think some of the bigger game developing companies are definitely not far from being involved in this with you guys, and so it's a pretty exciting space over there. Let's turn it over to KookaburraY. Curious how DEXs look at interoperability.
Lovely, Brian. Yeah, happy to hear you guys share about from your like business model and how you see interoperability. And for us, like I mentioned, I introduced myself. What we do is more like Bitcoin asset hub, and we are doing this on core on a Bitcoin chain. And the way we see interoperability is more like because we want to focus on this Bitcoin relevant asset. But right now, like I said, if you guys follow the Bitcoin narrative, there's a lot of like different Bitcoin layer twos, so to speak, and then all these different layer twos, they have their own ecosystems, and also, but like in that sense, like the liquidity is already kind of scattered in different layer two ecosystems. So what we do is we more like as a project or even as our ecosystem. The way we wanna compete and also we wanna win in these ways is more like how do we capture the most liquidity out in the market, and this is the angle, and this is how we wanna approach the idea of interoperability, because our way of seeing interoperability is like liquidity, and also how are the Bitcoin whales holders looking at these different BTC layer 2s and also different BTC powered DEXs. We are definitely not the only one. And so we work a lot on the user experience, and that's why we have we prioritize our mobile version, and right now we are the only DEX with like Bitcoin assets to offer the mobile version to our users. And then from our backend data, this strategy actually works pretty well, because a lot of the users, they interact with our platform with the mobile version. And I think this is like a key to how should I put it, like to handle or like to address the interoperability problem, because people use desktops and they use mobile phones, and then we are actually offering more solutions for people coming from different platforms, whether it's like interaction with our platform or bringing over the liquidity. So this is something how we think and we discuss internally every day, and it's more like people coming from different background doing whatever functions. Why are they coming here, and then how should we offer the best experience to these guys? Okay, so this is one very important angle, and the other angle is that we work with a number of very interesting and strong Bitcoin bridges. For example, like Xlink, those guys, they started in the Stacks ecosystem, and also they are working with like another top DEX called Alex on Stacks. And also we work with Mason. So Mason is basically a native bridge, and then our ecosystem core, they use that bridge to encourage existing Bitcoin holders or like Bitcoin narrative watchers, these guys that to bridge over their Bitcoin to core and eventually to make this like a tradable asset on our platform. And this explains what I was saying in my introduction about Glyph is an hub for all these different BTCs coming from different bridges to interact, to trade against each other, because we are running a DAX business, and this is how we generate revenue. And this is how we also offer to the market that if you are holding a certain synthetic BTC, for example, or other assets, that's where you can see liquidity, and that's where you can trade. And this is why I was saying this is important for our team and also our product to address the interoperability issue, because as long as more and more people can use it, use our platform, as if they are not thinking about the chain, or thinking about this is DeFi, or thinking about this is meme coin speculation and things like that. And then this is the moment when people when we will have like the mass adoption moment, like what Bryan said, started kicking off our space today, like the 1 billion user achievement. So thank you.
No worries, KookaburraY. No worries. Thank you for that. It's definitely an interesting space, the L2 Bitcoin stuff, and Kima's working hard. We recently, in the past couple of weeks, launched our Bitcoin transaction. So as KookaburraY was mentioning, there's synthetic versions and there's ways to do this, but Kima has a solution that's quite robust, and we're excited to roll it out with Glyph and with Core as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Chris real quickly just to chat. Give us your thoughts on interoperability as it relates to you guys and what you're doing.
Yeah, no, I mean, for us, it is very important. And, that's one of the reasons that we're really excited about what you guys over at sort of Kima are building. Because I think, as has been mentioned earlier, reducing the barriers and the hurdles for entry and reducing the barriers to transactions is key for one, adoption of the billion users, the next billion users, but also for the large sort of wholesale institutional money and funds flow that actually underpin and provide the backbone for liquidity across so many asset classes. And that's really what we're addressing, and why we love working with sort of innovative projects and some of the things that, say, Kima are doing and others, because at the moment, lots of exciting things are happening. However, there isn't quite the ecosystem fully functioning that enables the adoption of crypto and other tokenized asset classes the same way that we see in traditional assets. And for it to really fulfill and achieve its full potential, creating those environments where people don't necessarily need the technical knowledge, or there aren't workarounds or manual processes that exist that create all the inefficiencies in TradFi, then by removing those, it will enable us to push the asset classes on-chain. It will enable a more frictionless and seamless process. And that's really what we've been trying to do at Definity, is to look at the differences and the benefits of tokenized assets in crypto and blockchain, Web3, and figure out how we can bring to the market something that works for the wholesale markets, recognizing that when the wholesale markets are active and running, they bring new asset classes, new support, new liquidity, and also they reduce, as I said, the barriers to entry. So we can try and provide the institutional support to the businesses that are then rolling out all these wonderful new exciting products to the consumers in a way that more consumers can adopt them. So, that really is very much our belief and our mantra. We've partnered a number of years ago when we entered the asset class with an AI house, long before it was really trending. And we produced an anomaly detector, which was a risk engine. And again, the reason we did that was it wasn't core to our business, but we recognized that institutions, for example, would need to be able to manage risk before they could fully enter an asset class. Again, the partnership with the investment bank is about providing the right sort of credit counterparty and removing the centralized risk that currently exists in exchanges and crypto, so that large asset managers and hedge funds can participate more fully in the asset classes that are coming on. And listening to what everybody's saying, it's, we strongly believe that if we work together to create that ecosystem in a more collaborative way, then it will make it less of a challenge for people to participate, and then we'll get the greater adoption. So yeah, that's sort of where we're driving.
Very cool. Very cool. Thanks for sharing that, Chris. Appreciate that. Let's shift our conversation a little bit. I mean, we've heard some really interesting things here so far from the guys, and I'd like to just dive a little bit deeper with Tim on what kind of strategies Redbelly is looking at to facilitate sort of the operation of the chain, because I understand from what you just said that you guys are trying to, be sort of that single source of truth, but I imagine you're going to have to interact with, fiat accounts and other chains and other things outside of Redbelly. So can you talk to us a little bit about how you look at that, either cross-chain or on-chain to off-chain communications at Redbelly, and what strategies you guys are looking at there?
Yes, there's obviously quite a lot to think about and worry about there. Look, I think the key for us is, being in the blockchain space, you have to be backwards compatible with the real world. People get very excited with the opportunity in crypto in general, but the entire market cap of crypto is, $2 trillion, and gold is like 14 trillion, just gold. So we need to realize that although the opportunity is big here and there's a lot of excitement, there's a lot of value still off chain. So one of the things we've thought about is custody, is about, how do we still do business with the old world? So for instance, we're partners of Fireblocks. Fireblocks have over 2,000 institutional customers on their network. And so there are many digital asset teams around the world that are looking for high value assets to invest in, and they want to make sure that they're doing that without, financing terrorism, for instance. So we need to make sure that compliance is also baked in. And I guess one of the things we've done that's quite different to a lot of chains which have tried to solve compliance up the stack is we're using verifiable credentials at the base layer. So when someone joins Redbelly, they do an off-chain identity check with a document verification partner, and we check that user has not found themselves on a sanction list, and they pass KYC and KYB checks. And at that point, they're allowed to join the Redbelly network. So this is still a open EVM compatible network, has the same functionality that most EVM chains have, but we need to make sure we have accountability and clean liquidity as a starting point. And so when asset issuers deploy their assets on our network and they bring their single source of truth, for instance, from Web 2 to Web 3, they need to know that they're not doing business with a criminal. Now, it doesn't remove the need for the asset issuer to know who their counterparty is, and there's a whole bunch of sort of trodden processes and licensing and kind of ways of doing things that you can't replace overnight. But what we want to do is, as we build this verifiable credential stack, we're going to move towards where the asset issuer needs to be in terms of that counterparty risk. So one of the things we've seen over and over again is every single issuer has to go and build their KYC checks for themselves, and then when they deploy these assets and they want to do business with anybody else, the other asset issuer has done the same thing. So we've effectively recreated walled gardens on crypto all over again. So through the use of zero knowledge proofs, and we're using combination of things, but the Polygon ID library is one of them. We're actually going to create a zero knowledge proof that represents the eligibility criteria for particular licenses. So for instance, when you join, there'll be a zero knowledge proof to say you're over 18, you're from a certain jurisdiction, you might be a sophisticated investor, and this is all PII that needs to be controlled and owned by you and cannot be stored in public or on chain. And so when this person goes to do business with a particular asset type on Redbelly, the asset issuer can simply programmatically check that person is eligible. And so without doing this in a programmatic way, you have to once again produce documents, manual processing, very slow, and this gets in the way of doing business. And you basically have no composability and should basically keep it off chain. So we've tried to strike a balance between, having the rails to allow people to do business, but also start to replace a lot of those inefficient manual processing steps that have stopped people from doing it at the sort of speed we want to do it at. So yeah, I would say there's some of the bigger things that we've looked at. Look, there'll be a intermediate step where people are still reconciling the state of play on chain with the old world. For instance, might have a database that has the current sort of state of play for a particular asset type, and then those assets are trading on chain in a sort of single source database equivalent. But at some point, that needs to cut over to just be a blockchain system. And when you do that, you then get a composable asset class that's 24/7, globally distributed, and if you have the right eligibility criteria, you can do that very quickly. So that's a very forward-looking strategy, but we are having to be very careful how we take these asset issuers on that journey, because ultimately it's a bit scary, and we want to make sure that people don't lose their capital and lose trust in the space.
Yeah, no, totally. Quick question. So is it safe to say that everyone on your chain is KYC or KYB then? So it's sort of permission DeFi, if you will. Is that something that you guys use that term at all, or?
Not necessarily. So there's two ways to look at it. We have obviously permissionless networks, Ethereum, Polygon. We know them, we love them. The problem is that asset issuers cannot issue their assets at scale on these networks. They're not deterministic. They're expensive, they have fluctuating gas costs, and even the gas fees, you can't prove if they're financing terrorism, right? And so, but we know the internet beats intranet, right? And then on the other side, you've got permission walled gardens, Onyx, XDC, you name it, there's plenty of them. The problem they have is, although they've got some operational efficiencies and they are automating business logic at scale, they don't have any composability, and that means you can't build any of the DeFi tooling or any of the open source novelties that actually made DeFi what it is on those networks. So they're completely permissioned. So where Redbelly sits is we've got just enough permissioning that is controlled by the user to inject trust into a network that's still open. So we've had to strike a balance between being trusted by asset issuers and respected by, frankly, regulations and the law, but also open enough that if people have done a level of credentialing, which once again, they control, they issue, they choose what they do with without revealing PII, then they can still have access to these asset classes. So you've got to break down the sort of the borders or the sort of walls that sit in front of most of retail who can't even get access to these asset classes. So we think the balance we're striking is the right balance. But once again, without verifiable credentials, you're just doing whitelist all over again, and you're not really solving much.
Yeah, no, that's very cool. Thanks for clarifying that, Tim. Let's move over to Rohit again at Trikon, and what I'm noticing here is each of these projects is quite distinct in what it's offering, from Trikon and the gaming infrastructure to the DMA groups, liquidity solutions, and Redbelly and whatnot. How do you drive adoption, Rohit, and what strategies are you looking at to attract and retain users? Because a lot of this has to do with the gaming experience, which is outside of your control. So what kind of levers are you guys pulling to make this happen? And to we need $1 billion, so we have 4 people on the call. So we need 250 million from you, Rohit. So go ahead with that.
Thanks, Brian. So talking about, the biggest thing that I always look at that has worked as an experience, right? And even when we talk about any Web2 project, or especially right now when we look at the different sign-ins that we have on different websites, they are using one single thing, which is sign in with Google. And even sign in with Facebook, sign in with LinkedIn have been introduced, but sign in with Google is something which always stands out and provides an easy accessibility. And the reason was the kind of ecosystem and the easy accessibility was being provided. The first thing that was provided was an adaptability of having almost everyone to have a Google account. And even when there was Yahoo and there were different Hotmail kind of email providers, Google has surpassed everyone and was able to get everyone inside their ecosystem. And then they have built this functionality, which is why the adoptability has come in. And the reason was first the Gmail functionality, the seamless services that they're provided. And then the second thing was the kind of easy accessibility where you are just giving out the permission with just single sign up or sign in with Google. You are providing all different informations to the business you are signing into. So that's something that everyone looks at, and that's something that we are also targeting in and have introduced, where we call it sign in with Trikon. Where we are not saying connect with Trikon, we are not saying connect your wallet or any of those things. We are giving the gamer what they actually need. And that's something that I believe would drive the adoption. So first of all, in terms of the user acquisition strategies, we are reaching out to different communities, to different game developers, where we have the right set of awareness among what is actually needed in Web3 gaming and how people can leverage out the different, you would say, the benefits of having being in this certain ecosystem. And then second thing that we are targeting is circling around with different game developers, and then with the word of mouth expanding our reach to different game developers as well, where we tell them that they actually do not have to come up with an expertise of blockchain. Instead, they should focus upon something that they are expert with and give a real power to the gaming, which actually can have more adaptability to the gamers. And right now, why people are able to connect with us, or the game developers are able to connect with us, is because even in their childhood, they are actually able to understand that what they always have missed out or what they always wanted to achieve. And with that, they come on board with our idea. They are more than excited to get their games on Web3. It's just that the biggest constraint that they are currently facing is the knowledge barrier, and then secondly the additional cost that they have to put in order to have the blockchain components. So that's where we started have running the different initiatives as well, where we are giving an early adopter advantage. So for example, if there are any game studios in this call right now, I would like to propose them to reach out to us on our official channels, talk to us, see that how we can collaborate. And in their testnets or into the integrational part, we are not charging any amount right now. There are no subscription amounts that we are charging as of now, so that we have the right set of collaborations. We are able to have the acquisition strategies on that front. And then the retention part, I believe once this technology is embedded, the user is able to have the experience that they need. And one of the finest example is PUBG, where the acquisition was being done, but retention was something which never have been focused, because they were able to deliver that certain experience. And like me being from India, uh, I saw PUBG getting a big hype during the COVID time. Then it got banned for some time. Even people had put in their money in order to buy UCs, in order to buy different assets. Everything was gone, and they were not able to have that value out of, like, value returned to them. And when PUBG got reintroduced in the market after like 1 year, they were actually able to retain 80% of the users who were playing the game PUBG before the ban. So that's a kind of an experience if we are able to deliver. People will definitely come back. And I believe that's something that we are also focusing upon, like I've said, the gaming experience. So with bringing this all to at one place, this ensures that as soon as an experience is there, the retention is always going to be higher.
Thanks, man. That's really cool. Those are interesting numbers that you've just cited there. I'd like to shift over. We have about 13, 14 minutes left, and so we're kind of running out of time. So I'm going to just get down to a last question for each of the audience members, and then we're going to go into a little bit of a fun speed round with just some real quick questions that are meant to be fun and lighthearted, and then we'll give each of the guys a few minutes to sign off and to say some of their last words. But KookaburraY, just curious from your side, how do you look at scalability? I know you guys are a DEX and a tech provider, but what kind of technological advancements are you implementing to handle the increased transaction volume and user growth that we're foreseeing?
Yeah, right. Yeah, thanks for a lot of the insights. I've been like listening very attentively myself to see if there's any interoperable insights that I can learn from you guys, and then I can talk to my team and then see how we can execute some of the action points. And so, yeah, speaking of like scalability for us, the way I see or like our project, I think it's a more relevant to say that our project is more like we are more focusing on the user acquisition in terms of instead of the infrastructure development, because when we are running a DAX, not like you guys, like you running a chain or like infrastructure provider. And we are a lot more reliant on this infrastructure technology improvement, and then we adopt it, and then we provide, we optimize the process to provide a better user experience to our users. So just before I hop on this Twitter space today, I was like talking to one of our front end engineers about the RPC thing, you know. So these are some of the areas that pretty technical and maybe boring, but we are like we run the kitchen, so we need to make sure that kind of experience would help us to not scare away our first time users. So that goes back to the question about like scalability, because we are not looking for, because it's not our role to look for a scalable solution in a technical perspective, whereas we are looking at like how to acquire more users, because we really want to see more user growth, and it's relevant to the 1 billion user scenario that everyone can benefit as long as more and more Web2 users come into the Web3 economy. And then so we want to look at this more seriously in how to create games, or like if you guys like follow us, or if you guys know us already, or maybe you can check some of our previous Twitter posts during the Euro 2024 competition. We experimented, we did a very expensive experiment of the team coins, and then it's like a half trading, half betting winners or the loser of the soccer teams. And the reception was really good. It was really out of our expectation, because people actually, soccer, Euro 2024 is much easier to understand than like we have a very advanced trading mechanism. It's a Uniswap V4 style. You can do like LPs and with concentrated liquidity. I'm not throwing like keywords because it's not too relevant, but I really want to draw the attention to the fact that we need more down-to-earth user acquisition campaigns like what our team did, and also upcoming at our laboratory, the way I call our team. We are actually going to do gamify a little bit like the BTC synthetic trading, so that it resembles something like what we did for the soccer competition. You know, like people would understand that much easier, and then they would be drawn to the project and to the protocol, and then they will start interacting with it. And then I think this is more important for us, at least, like, because like I said, we're not building infrastructure, we're not building a chain. So what we do is we really want to help retain the users. It's the same scenario like the Platy story, that the hype was good and then there was no retention, you know. And then, well, in my scenario and in my case, in my role, I love retention. I love to talk to repetitive users and consumers, you know. So this is the way I would look at scalability in that sense. Thanks, Bryan.
Thank you, KookaburraY. I appreciate that. Yeah, down to earth user acquisition. That might be a whole nother topic that we can have a Twitter space on one of these days. But it's cool stuff. Chris, we're running out of time here, but give us a couple of minutes on scalability, or also what kind of things your project's looking to achieve in the next 3 to 5 years. Like if you have a big, goal out there that you're looking at that you could talk to us about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, in essence, it breaks down to a couple of simple things. Clearly, we're providing a venue for a compliant and regulated safe exchange of crypto and other digital assets for financial institutions. Why that matters, I guess, to the rest of the world is that by increasing the liquidity and the efficiency of those assets, then it makes our partners, and I guess our partners are key and really important to this, to be able to distribute those assets out to the next billion. So our main goals are obviously to continue to work with people to grow the efficient and frictionless ecosystem for those digital assets, for the financial institutions, and at the same time bring into that environment the partners that then take out to the consumers the benefits of that greater liquidity, better volume, lower cost, and more efficient architecture to enable the consumers. So that could be consumers accessing assets through a regulated exchange or a bank that has had the liquidity provided from the financial institution, so there is better pricing. So really that's what we're looking to do, is to kind of grow out our customer ecosystem. There aren't a billion financial institutions in the world, but in terms of enabling those that are there to deliver something better for the next billion people, that is our goal. And really over the next 5 years, we've got something that works now, but we know the market's going to evolve. We know it's going to become more efficient, more interoperable. So for us, working with those partners that deal with things such as settlement, cross-chain, the custody, and also those partners that bring new asset classes, where crypto has almost been the proof of concept for how it should work, and then asset classes that are 100 times the size of the total market cap of crypto can then start getting distributed through the same rails. So yeah, in short, hopefully that's where we see the next sort of 3 to 5 years, and we're massively excited about it, and we're working with some really, really great people on the way.
Yeah, well, thanks for that, Chris. And let's just take advantage. We only have about 5 minutes, so I'll just let you say your closing remarks in about a minute, and then I got a couple speed questions for you. So go ahead and say any last things that you'd like to say.
Sorry, was that directed to me?
Yeah. Go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. Excellent. Yeah. So the last minute. I mean, as I've sort of said, we see the greater adoption by institutions having a massive benefit for the adoption of the asset class at a retail consumer level. So we're really looking to do that, and we want to work with and to build out the efficient processes with partners who have that expertise to enable that adoption to accelerate and to grow from more than just crypto to other asset classes, whether they're linked to gaming, whether they're linked to payments, whether they're linked to investments. We genuinely believe there's a massive groundswell there that's going to benefit the next billion and beyond.
All right, cool. So
and we look forward to
so
sharing that with Kima.
So we appreciate that. So these questions here are just real silly questions, but are you a Bitcoin or an Ethereum guy, Chris? If you had to choose one.
ERC as a start, even though most of our investors are looking at Bitcoin, and the reason is we learned a bit of our crypto journey by creating an ERC token. So we walked the walk before we started talking the talk. So I've got to say ERC because that's what our native was.
Nice. How about lunch with Elon or CZ?
Elon.
Nice.
Just because I can imagine.
Yeah, you might have a limited menu with CZ right now, so that could be interesting. All right, last one here for you. Token 2049 or consensus?
I think 2049 at the moment, and that's because that's getting the message out, I guess, to a lot more non-crypto and non-technical people. So,
sweet.
In short.
Well, thanks, Chris, from DMA Group, Definity. That's Chris Park. So thanks for being on the show. I'm going to turn it over to Tim now. Tim, go ahead and say a few last words, and I think you have a special surprise for your audience.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely worth checking out our testnet. We've done a quite a unique approach to our rewards program, we've actually deployed partner applications in the way that we expect the RWA space to actually play out in the future. So one example is we've created an application with tokenized property, which is not that interesting. But what you can then do is actually insure that property against disasters that happen every so often. And property being a Ponzi that it is, it continues to go up, and these disasters destroy a lot of value for these mock users and mock investors. And then we can use that collateral to lend and borrow against. So a whole bunch of the assets on our testnet, tokenized gold, tokenized treasury bills, private equity can be used as collateral to unlock liquidity. So this is really the kind of beginning of structured products, and we're having some fun with it. So if you want to take some fake USDC and sort of have some fun with it, I definitely recommend that. And just in terms of our community, we have a campaign running at the moment, and there's a password that we're going to share just now. And the password for tonight's campaign is billion with a B, my favorite. So thank you to everyone who attended today. Cheers.
No worries, Tim. Thanks for that. So billion is the password for all of Tim's people and all of Redbelly's people listening in. And Tim, just real quick, over to you. $1,000 in altcoins or $1,000 in Bitcoin for you?
Altcoins.
All right. Are you a DEX or a SEX kind of guy? And I just mean this as far as trading goes.
DEX.
All right. And would you also prefer Elon over the CZ jail lunch, or would you take a chance meeting CZ?
No, definitely Elon.
Okay. And how about meeting Satoshi or getting the recipe to Coca-Cola, the secret recipe? Which would you prefer?
Satoshi, 100% Satoshi.
Nice. Yeah, Coca-Cola is overrated. So, all right, Tim, thanks a lot. We have about a minute or less, so I'll let Rovit sort of sign off and keep it short for me, Rovit, so that KookaburraY can say goodbye as well.
All right. So just like I believe I already have covered most of the points in terms of what we are building, for whom we are building, and what are the different target audience that we currently have. However, in the audience, I would really ask and request everyone to stay connected with us. We are coming with a very big revamp next week with Trikon. So, and also there are announcements. There are TGG that is planned for our Q3. So stay connected with us, follow us on our social so that you are aware about the different announcements that are coming in. And in order to experience our product, you can go to trikon.io and you can see that different flows that are working in order to have the vault signups. And at the same time, you will be able to experience 2 different games that we have converted from Web 2 to Web 3. And if you have any more questions, stay connected with us on Telegram. And you can also get in touch with me. My Telegram ID is I_Trikon. I repeat, I_Trikon. So looking forward to your messages, and thank you for me on having the space.
No worries, Rovit. Just a quick one for you. Doge or SHIB for you? Which route are you taking?
I would go with SHIB.
I think you broke up there right at the key moment. I didn't hear it. Was it Doge or SHIB?
I was saying that I will go with SHIB because that's something that I always had invested in and also had made some money out of it. So I know Doge has only been an high, but in SHIB we also have started listening about some of the movements happening. So yeah, SHIB for me.
Nice. Well, thanks, Rovit, for everything. All right, KookaburraY, let's wrap this up. You're on the mic. Say a few things, and then I got a couple silly questions for you.
I don't have a few things to say because I'm sure I'm coming back to this show again. So please just click my icon and follow our Twitter and our socials. There's a lot of fun waiting for you guys. Thank you.
All right. So here's the first one for you. Is USDT or USDC for you, KookaburraY?
T for life.
T for life. All right. I like that. How about, would you rather be an influencer or an anon in crypto?
Anon. Like now.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that was a silly question. And I'm going to ask you this one too, but DEXs or sexes for you?
Well, you have the answer, so I'm not answering.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Well, hey, I think that's all the time we have today. So I want to thank everyone for coming. From Kima's side, we're sure grateful that we have such a wonderful group of partners out there and a wonderful group of people following us, not only on Twitter, but across all of our socials. So thank you to everyone. We're, again, like I said, we're super grateful to Tim, to Chris, to Rohit and to KookaburraY for coming on. Amazing projects. We've been, working closely with all of them, and I would recommend anyone that's interested in these types of spaces to follow all of these amazing entrepreneurs and startups. So thank you to everyone. Hope everyone has a wonderful weekend, and we will chat soon. Goodbye, everyone.
Thanks,
See you,
everyone.
everybody.
Looking
Bye.
forward to it.